so, but excited for the importance of media to the sport of disc golf. We've got some shakers in the room, and we'll want to see up here as well. My guess is that there are some content creators or soon-to-be content creators in the room, which is exciting. And we're excited to hear from you all. It's fairly informal. I'm moderating just to keep the flow going, but I am confident from looking up here that you all won't need any help filling the airwaves. But I do have some questions and dialogue, but this is also about all of you, so really, if you all have questions you want to ask the panel, we can fill the time doing that. If you ask something that's way off track, maybe I'll steer us back. But otherwise, that's the idea. And so it's not so much of a presentation. There's no PowerPoint slides, nothing like that happening today. But up here, amongst the content that's represented, if you look at YouTube alone, which is actually not the only channel that stuff gets pushed out on, but this represents over 215,000 YouTube subscribers. Yeah. Check out this number. Over 78 million total views sitting up here. That's YouTube only. I know some of them have podcast channels, which probably have like millions of additional views that aren't even captured.
I think so. Well, it's all Gatekeeper. Yeah.
Gatekeeper has 90%.
Yeah. I didn't break down the percentages, but it's a
but it's Gatekeeper.
Yeah. Between me and Paul McNutt, we have 6 world champions.
Yes, that's right.
That's fair.
That is also correct. But really, even represented, it's not all about numbers. But if you look up here, there's a wide variety of content as well, which I think is why it's an interesting panel. The different types of media that are being pushed out to people interested in disc golf. And so why don't we start with just like, we're not going to actually time you, but give us like the 60-second intro of yourself and the type of disc golf content that you focus on producing. And then we can dive in more in depth, but like, let's make sure everybody hears that snippet. So we'll start at the end and we'll go down.
Hey guys, Matt, Staggered Stance. We used to be the Nick and Matt Show. We just rebranded this last month. We provide disc golf talk show content. So if you are someone who has work and you like to have something on in the background, disc golf talk is what we do. And this is our 5th year.
My name is Nick Carl. I'm also one of the co-hosts of the Staggered Stance Show, and also played a little bit of professional disc golf for a little while, so content creation on the side of being in people's videos like Simon's, Paul's, stuff like that.
And he's the course pro of Olympus Disc Golf Course. It's located in Brooksville, Florida. Check it out.
Opening next week.
Opening next week. Lifetime membership, a mere $2,500. It's yours. Easy.
Divide that over a couple thousand weekends. And
yeah, exactly. What is a lifetime, right? So
it's 166 rounds.
166 rounds. That's math. Anyways, so now I've used all that time. I'm Robbie, and I run Robbie C Disc Golf, and my channel is designed to help beginners improve one stroke at a time.
I was prepared. You did that good.
I don't need 60.
Obviously, Joseph with another round. The content that we've focused on, or historically focused on, is really bite-sized micro stuff on Instagram. That's where we put most of our time. A lot of guys have great YouTube channels. This year we're pivoting a little more into longer form stuff, but yeah, short form, Joseph, Circus Clown, Aces, all that stuff. That's our
Aces and the views.
Aces.
Yeah, Aces is an understatement.
He's got more aces in this whole room combined. I guarantee.
Yeah, for sure. What's up, disc golf fans? Derek with Gatekeeper Media here. I'm the president and co-founder. We've started in 2017, and we have. It's been a labor of love, so thank you all for tuning in. We really appreciate every single view. Without you guys, we would not be able to do it. I am also the course pro of my own backyard.
Yeah! That's Vesuvius DGC.
Is there a lifetime membership?
He's undercutting you guys big time. His mortgage.
Yeah, my mortgage.
So again, think of questions or things you would love clarification on or input, and it can be addressed to the entire panel and they can weigh in, or you can target a question to somebody up here. But the actual name of this seminar talks about the importance of media to the sport of disc golf. I think the conversation would be wide open, but I want to start with a question. And initially it's like, pass the mic to who has something. Not all of you have to feel obligated to answer every question. We'll flow with the discussion. So this is very broad, but when you think about the overall sport of disc golf, obviously there's so many aspects that we probably all enjoy. There is a business side to the sport of disc golf. We always talk about growing the sport. What do you think the importance of media is to the sport of disc golf? Is it an important aspect of the sport as a whole? So there's multiple ways you could probably take that, but curious your reaction since all of you are doing some form of business in the media sector.
I think realistically, media in the sport of disc golf is one of the biggest things that we have that has helped propel our sport into kind of a mainstream sport. Disc golfers are so blessed to be able to be in the YouTube era right now, to where we have the best post-produced coverage of any sport that's out there. Gatekeeper being one of those companies that is able to provide us, just by going on YouTube, and you can watch full rounds of disc golf with incredible players on it. Now, when it comes to just everyday digesting disc golf content, that's where us as a podcast, YouTube channels really thrive, because we're able to talk about something that we love, and you guys are able to hear something that you love. And so I think media in disc golf in general is massive, and it's what is really helping our sport that much.
So yes, it is very important. So I would say you guys may be familiar with something they call the Holy Shot. So that was a monumental highlight that pivoted a lot of things in the positive direction, and you are not collecting those highlights if you are not rolling the camera, right? So that just by itself, the more cameras, the more time code that's rolling, the more opportunity we have for growth, right? From any scale. It could be anybody that gets that highlight that's going to see millions of eyes and things like that. So don't let the entry level scare you away from creating content. I think it's really important for people to use what they have and utilize the things that they, there isn't really an entry level. I myself filmed an entire round of disc golf with just my phone just to prove that I can, right? And you don't have to have the best equipment to have those highlights be filmed.
That's interesting. I'm curious. I wonder if this is similar amongst all of you or not. Your very earliest stages of disc golf media. So maybe not even like the channel you're on, but literally the first pieces of media. Did any of you envision that you were setting out on a trajectory that would land you here?
Yeah, absolutely not. So I've got a healthy number of subscribers. I'm very grateful for it. I got to 40,000 subscribers literally using my phone. So people who are like, you have to have a really nice camera and all of that, honestly, it still overwhelms me. I have an editor now, really grateful. I cannot edit my own footage because I handed him the camera and I said, teach me how to use this. And it looks really bad until he touches it. And then he's like, oh, now it looks good. So it still overwhelms me. So I love the phone, but like a conversation, I started in 2020 for the channel, started playing disc golf in 2012. And Jesse from Trash Bandit, who was here last year, he and I talked for the first time in January of 2021, and I had just over 1,000 subscribers at that point. And he was like, oh, so when do you think you'll go full time in disc golf? And I audibly laughed at Jesse and said, you fool, this is a hobby. I do this on the weekends. I will literally never do this full time. You're crazy. And here we are. I've been full time in this for 3 years now. Yeah, so never saw it, and it still blows my mind that people are listening.
And others can answer that as well, but so what's intriguing is for those of you who might be aspiring for disc golf media, you don't have to set your eyes on this because that wasn't Robbie C's plan. Just capture disc golf. And over time, figure out where you go.
Yeah, you just have to start. And so, did I see it coming that it was going to become this much of a thing when I started doing it? No. And I think I get so many questions, especially on Instagram stuff, man, what kind of gear are you using? It's 95% of stuff I'm posting on Instagram is taken on somebody's cell phone. And it's whatever gets, reduces friction to get you from having stuff on the internet, just do that. Because if you can only do one YouTube video a month or something because you're trying to do it with a nice DSLR and having somebody edit it for you and all that, but you could do 8 videos a month on an iPhone, just do 8. Make sure the content's good, but there is part of this that's just a volume thing.
I'll add. And just to be aware, like there are a lot of free options for editors. So like CapCut, if you're editing mobily, it's a really great editing software that you can do a lot of really cool transitions and titles and things like that. And then from like a thumbnail perspective, like the app Canva has a lot of free templates that you can use. So you can run your channel 110% just from your phone. And so it really should not be a scary like undertaking for you. If it's something that you're passionate about and you think that it's something that you would enjoy doing, that's all the more reason for you to do it, because people are going to buy into your genuine personality, right? Because that's what makes the content yours, because no one can tell your story like you.
That's great.
Matt and I always joke about this, is we started up the podcast during the COVID boom, and our first episode we had Simon Lizotte, Steve Dodge, and Terry Miller on, and you think, yeah, that's probably going to get hundreds and hundreds of views, and I think we had 49 at most live viewers that show. So we were kind of like, you know what, let's, yeah, I mean, it was huge for us, you know, it was
But yeah, we literally didn't know. We were like, 2 live viewers would be good. No, it was more than 40, it was 7.
but then,
Don't listen to that episode though. To the point here of production value. Now you all gotta go click back. Like it was the interview style, like the audio production. It was us starting. But this kind of goes back to say, if you want to look at progression, if you're passionate and you have content, you can always work on upgrading everything over time. But you don't need that to start. That's for sure.
and a lot of it is just consistency. I mean, we started episode 1 and we're on episode 175 now. And that's just Mondays or Thursdays. What we used to do is just consistently putting out content. And that helps grow your platform in and of itself when you're starting up. It's just being consistent with your schedule on it. And we've been fortunate enough to have incredible players during incredible moments of their careers come onto our show. So our first episode, Matt says, had 70 live viewers. We've had episodes that have had 2,500 live viewers before now. And that's just something from being consistent and building what your brand, what you want it to be.
So again, get ready, because I am going to open it up. It won't be just us talking amongst ourselves. But Matt, you made a comment kind of in jest, and I wanted to ask others, like, if you go back and look at your earliest productions, you know, Matt, you kind of said, don't go look at it. I don't do any others feel like a similar like feeling of like, the early stuff compared to now feels a little bit like funny, but I'm curious your reaction to that.
We actually just did like a 12 Days of Christmas look back, and we watched the first tournament coverage that we had ever done, and just kind of relived what that experience was while we were, you know, being reminded of it, right? And so the equipment that we used was just leftover stuff from going to film school and the equipment we had, and it was really rough to watch. Like I was like, why am I doing that? Why am I zooming in then when I shouldn't be? Or you know, we were shooting it in the wrong frame rate because, again, we had that motion picture mindset of our training, and it molded into, you know, the fine-tuned product that we have now.
So I would say, others can still react if you like on the panel, but if you had been concerned about the potential lack of quality compared to what you see up here, you would have never started. So like, you know, caution those who are thinking about starting, don't try to be like level 10 on day 1. Like, you literally can't get to level 10 if you don't start on 1, right? So I feel like that's a vibe that I hear.
For sure. I mean, you always kind of look back at yourself. If go on your Facebook memories personally, and you're like, oh my God, who was I 7 years ago? What are you doing? Which means that if you always look at yourself in retrospect as being cringy, it means that we're cringy right now as well. So you got to just get past that and just start putting stuff out.
Yeah. Who out here has already created some disc golf media on your own, or you're very close to doing it? Yeah, I know we have one here for sure.
A bit.
All right. Okay. Anyone else have anything to add before I open it up to just a broad range of questions?
Yeah, I mean, cringe in like so many levels. Like I used to have long, like I had shoulder length hair, and that was bad. I have a very receding hairline. Like I had someone comment on a video and said, for the love of God, please never put another video out on the internet without a hat on, because your forehead is disgusting. Like that is an actual comment someone wrote on the internet, and so then I just shaved all my hair because there was that or crying myself to sleep. But yeah, like even the quality from the sound standpoint, I bought a mic for my phone because I heard audio matters way more than the video, and I fully believe that is true. So I bought a mic that was supposed to amplify the sound of my phone, but I didn't buy the right connector cord. So for like 3 months, I just thought, oh, I'm doing it. It sounds so much better to people, I guess, and it didn't because it didn't work. So like, the cringe is very real.
One quick thing before you open it up, because Gatekeeper, I don't know if you would agree that audio is more important than video, but on our side, I definitely think we would agree that. Yeah, and while audio is important, if you can have all, it's important. But because I mentioned this to Gannon Burr the other day, the same concept that you just said, Robbie. I was like, dude, audio, it can take your poor quality video to almost the next level. And Gannon's like, no, it's horrible. I'd rather watch good quality video than audio. But he's thinking the flight of a disc, all this stuff, right? So it depends on what kind of side of the media you're on, where that could spike a little bit more one way or the other. But in general, I agree with that 100%.
I would agree with it as well, actually. That's like a pretty common, oh, thank you. That's a pretty common thing that kind of comes up just in formal training for video is that, and I don't know the statistics, you can Google them when you have time, but essentially it's that X amount of viewers are going to ignore poor video quality as long as it sounds okay, whereas they're going to turn something off if it looks like the crispiest slow-mo that you could have, but it's got a jacked up audio popping situation. That serves as an annoyance to a lot of people, so they're going to turn that off, whereas like, for instance, the Blair Witch Project, right? The video quality on that is really poor. Now it was intentional, but the sound is production quality sound, and that was one of the most popular movies when it came out, right? So it's like it is a very common like industry standard that is something that you should follow.
No, good.
Okay, we're not going to force any questions because we can keep talking because that's what we do. But anybody have any questions? And I don't at all for the panel. Anything you're curious about? Go ahead.
Hello.
Hello.
How often when you make content do you know, I think this is going to be a good video, or do you just put out content to make sure you're releasing something like every Monday? Or do you say, oh, this one's going to be awesome?
Do you have to pick on Monday?
Sorry, Tuesday.
This show's gonna be okay.
But,
Yeah, no. I use the word banger a lot, not because I believe in like the banger top zone, because the ringer top is infinitely better, but when you're doing the content game, I don't know who it was, but some person much smarter than I said that the hard part for successful creators is eventually what got you to the point of success is that you did your content.
Yes.
And when you gain success, especially when you convert it to full time, and you're like, oh, this is what I do, you can watch those like the ad revenue numbers and think, okay, I'm going to make a video that's a banger. I'm going to make a video that is going to get views. If I have a bad month, all I have to do is say, hey, here's how you gain 100 feet of distance. If I put that in the title, I will get 30,000 views on a video, and the video could literally be me just standing at a park. You're gonna gain 100 feet of distance in a day. Oh man, you rush that process, people are in for it. And you don't even have to deliver. People get mad, but it's gonna get views. So you go from you doing you got you success, and then you get put in the trap of, I don't want to do my video, I want to do a good video. I want to do a great video or something like that. So health, and if you do that, you're going to burn out really fast. Like we're seeing that in the tech side of things, is that all these tech reviewers got sucked into the trap of, I want to do a really good video, really good video, really good video. I actually hate my life and I hate doing this. It pays the bills and I'm comfortable, but like, so you have to find the balance, and that's why a lot of people say like, divert your like income streams, things like that. So that way I can make the content that I want, because like another creator who's killing the game right now is Bedanza, right? Like he is soaring through. But Anthony can do whatever he wants because he can work, he's putting out video every day. So some of the content you can tell he's really passionate about, and then some of the content, and it doesn't get views. and then he'll put out a banger that is going to get views. So you can kind of attack the string multiple ways, but I think that trap happens a lot for creators.
The thing for me is that I just don't get too, I don't put too many expectations on any single piece of content. And instead of going for results, like, hey, this is, clickbaity kind of stuff, for me it's like, am I genuinely enjoying doing this? Like, is there something in this that feels like it's worth doing, or it's going to be helpful or something? And then whatever the results are, like, if you need to make a hard pivot, you're not going to be full-time and you have 0 views. It's not going to work. It's not going to be monetizable. But yeah, for me, it's like, is this something that feels genuinely worth doing? And then I think that kind of comes across.
Just one more thing is like, there's been so many times where I had, been up at 1:30 in the morning because I had this idea that I was so excited for, and then I put all this effort into the planning of it because I just loved the idea so much, and it flopped, right? So it's like, but at the end of the day, I was really proud of it, and am I bummed about it? Yeah, sure, absolutely. But, like what Joe was saying, like, you have to be very, able to like brush things off very easily in this industry because like the internet is very mean.
So we have a question from another disc golf content creator. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, well, ours is pretty basic when we kind of know whether the video is going to be good or not, in the sense of we're a very heavy interview style podcast. So if we have on Simon, Paul, Eagle, we know that video is probably going to do extremely well compared to if we have on, a local disc golfer out of North Dakota. We know what, yeah, exactly. Like we've had on Andrew Zimmer, one of the most famous chefs ever in the world, and videos where we've had sometimes just really good local players in the community will do better than that video. So you kind of have a pretty general idea, at least from our standpoint. And Matt and Ben, they do all the tech stuff, so they know when a video is actually going to come out good or bad. But usually when we have Gannon Burr on, it's going to be a bad video because his audio usually sucks.
But the video is great.
Yeah. The video itself is
great.
That's what he wants.
That's what you want. It's weird.
So I just wanted to add a quick thing onto what Robbie was saying. That if you guys, one channel that I love is CK Music and Disc Golf. He deliberately messes with the algorithm. He lies on his posts on purpose because he knows that people are going to go comment saying that it's a lie, and that engages more people into his post, and he knows it, and he does it. And he is easily one of my new favorite Instagram disc golf content creators because he knows how the algorithm works, he plays with the algorithm, and he's not ashamed of it at all. If people call him out, he replies in the comment, he's like, yeah, I know, but it'll get you to comment. You wouldn't have commented if you didn't say that. If I didn't say that. He did one where he was did a CTP challenge, and he said the shot was 480 feet, and it was 120 feet.
Yeah, right.
And everybody just gets all raged. But that's how he gets engagement. And it's just the algorithm is so wild how it works. And he just took it and just flipped it on his head. He's like, I'm just gonna be transparent about it. And so if you want to see somebody really and he's blowing up pretty recently.
He's here.
Yeah, I know. I met him today for the first time. I was kind of starstruck a little bit. But I actually did have a question that I've come across a lot. Obviously, when you're first starting making content, you kind of have to say yes to every opportunity that comes your way. But at some point, you hit a spot where you have to start saying no, because getting overwhelmed is the #1 bad thing for a growing brand or company. So for you guys, what is your decision-making process once you reach that successful stage around saying yes or no to opportunities that come along?
I'll answer first, but then there's people who are making an actual living off of this, and I think the answer can be a little different. So for me, I have a career job that I'm happy with, and I'm going to continue to stay with until it doesn't make sense to do that. But one thing that stands out to me is I'm not actively trying to go full-time in this. And so if I feel like something I'm about to do is going to be overwhelming and I'm not enjoying it, I just say no. Because I don't need the money from it, I don't need the revenue. So for me, it's a pretty easy decision. I have a feeling it's a little bit different when you start getting into your living, so that's it on.
For me, it's always, I know I said this earlier, but does it feel like it's going to be interesting and fun to do? There are some things that you do that are just, it's a smart business thing. that's the weird thing about my part of this is that, yes, I am a content creator, but also own another realm and all the different franchises and stuff. So we've got a lot of different layers to some kind of a brand partnership or something like that. Whereas if it was just strictly like a YouTube channel or something, it might be different. But yeah, for me, it's like, to your point, is this going to overwhelm me? Am I going to want to cuss myself out when the day comes that I have to go do this thing? Okay, I probably shouldn't do that. But if it's going to be fun, I want to do it, then I'll do it.
I think it can split both ways. I think a lot of people have mentioned burnout, and burnout is really like truly one of the worst things because it's really hard to crawl out of. So in some cases, like we'll take on jobs that are going to improve the work-life balance. So we may go to an event that is closer for us to travel to as opposed to something that might have a better turnout at it, just because logistically it makes more sense, then our next jumping point off to that would be easier for us or something like that. So like living on the road constantly, we started touring in 2019 and then we toured full time from the start back up in 2020 all the way to last year. And it's been, there's been times where I've been off or on the road for 8 to 10 weeks before coming home, and so I've been married the whole time that I have been touring, and it's stressful. So having
And are still married?
and I'm still married, happily married. So and so the moral of that story is that you have to really like look inside and see what you at the end of the day can sleep with, right? So like what is going to keep you up at night versus what you ethically can do for yourself as well.
So Joey, I'm speaking to the choir when I'm talking to you. I know you have a lot. Joey Tamale, everybody. He's produced a lot for the Disc Golf Network.
He's preaching to me because I'm a product of the burnout. I mean, I worked in disc golf media for the first time in 5 years because I couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah. Incredible production that he's put out though. Go check out Disc Golf Network stuff to give him some credit for what he's done. When it comes to like, I got caught up here. Trying to gather my thoughts. Burnout. If you're doing something because it was an opportunity, I'm gonna throw. Yeah, I'll throw. So this is Ben Kenny, the guy who put on the Northeast Expo. There's his mom and dad over there.
Hello.
They're winning, guys. But so Ben, if you know Stagger Stance, he started out intern, is what we called him, and he lasted a long time as an intern, which was fun for us. He's still intern Ben, but he's a full-time host on the show now. And he's running this expo very successfully. But I want to bring it back to this was, the reason I bring him up is because we are the only two right now that are actually in studio together. The rest are all remote hosts. So after a show, Ben and I will get to talking a lot, all different things about the expo and everything else. And Ben and I are very similar in a lot of ways. He's about 15 years behind me in age. But I look at myself and him a lot, and one thing that constantly comes up between us is it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity. Like, if Paul Macbeth came and said, Joey, and this has probably happened, can you film something and make it for me? And you're thinking to yourself, I've got 20 projects going on right now, and if I add this, it's a huge opportunity, right? The word opportunity is always what drives these movers and shakers, opportunity. But every time you take something that's called an opportunity, it might burn you out. And so you have to decide, is that literally gonna make or break what my goal is? Or is this just something that will come up again at another point? And you have to be honest, is this a once in a lifetime opportunity or is this something I can get another time? Because opportunity will drive you to burnout.
I will add, if you have the right motivation and you know your why, that can often be like your compass. Nowhere really near compared to these, but I with my brother Matt, had 2 years of content on the Disc Golf Network, talk show, and then we just kind of pulled the plug for a whole host of reasons, right? So last year I wasn't doing any media, but if you know why you're doing it in the first place, those types of decisions, maybe not easy, but they're simple, and there's a difference between the two, because easy is like, well, it's just like happens. Simple is like, it's just not complex, and it's like, well, here's what matters to me in my life, and so 2 + 2 = 4. And yeah, there's a small sense of loss when you lose something you're interested in. If you have the right why, you'll find your path to the better place anyway. When you talk a little bit about like, am I putting out content because I'm just in myself, or is it because I'm trying to get clicks? Like, it's complex, but you gotta really know your why, I think. Okay, any other questions or conversation points? All right, we've got 3 hands. We still have plenty of time, but I will be keeping an eye on that as we wind down probably in 20-ish minutes or so.
Hey guys, so when you first start out, how do you keep the motivation to keep doing it? Like not even just that you're not getting enough clicks or anything like that, but like you said, it's a hobby on a weekend. Sometimes you play around with your friends and all of a sudden I didn't take any photos, I didn't take any pictures. How do you keep yourself motivated to keep posting and posting and posting?
I mean, these guys will probably have better answers for that because of how much more I think they do post. But for me, and I would say maybe Matt as well, but the podcast for us is something that we just love doing. And there are times where both Matt and I have felt very burnt out with it. But fortunately, we started this thing together and have joined in with a bunch of people to add to our show to where we all kind of hold each other accountable. But I would say when it comes to doing videos and, you know, for a little while I was playing a lot of professional tournaments, is you got to realize what's fun and what's work. And work sucks sometimes, no matter what you're doing. And sometimes in disc golf, if you are fortunate to make it in the media world with it, you have to remember it is your full-time job, and some days it's really tough, but it is how you're trying to make a living for yourself. And so it's pretty much at that point just holding yourself accountable of this is what I want to do, this is how I feel like this is my most enjoyable thing that I can do for a living, and just holding yourself accountable. But like I said, fortunately for Matt and I's sake, we were able to just hold each other accountable, and that's how we kept it going and added the right people into the group.
Yeah, it's when it is it is your job. I don't know anyone that wakes up, even if you have your quote dream job, and is like, yeah, you know what? Every single thing I do at my job, incredible, love it. Taking out trash, incredible, love it. Like, there's a bad side to every job. So even doing it full time, like there are tasks that suck, and you just have to do it. So part of that is, okay, the good has to have bad on the other side of it. But like for a fully transparent, in 2023, I straight up almost just quit doing this because the personal side of it for me is that in disc golf coaching, apparently every other sport, if you try to help people improve, then improving is what matters. But in disc golf, if you can't throw 500 feet and you can't make all your 30-foot putts again, and you can't approach and put it on a dime every single time, then you're actually trash, and you should never try to help anyone improve. So unfortunately, I don't do those things. So in 2023, it overwhelmed me enough that I stopped playing tournaments because I was like, I have to improve. And I have to improve not because I want to, but because if I don't, people will just stop watching. I need the credibility. Like, I gotta get good. G-U-D, get good. So I started doing it, and I straight up broke my form. Like, I suck at throwing a disc right now. I know I do. And it just got to the point of, I don't want to go film. I don't want to be on camera. I get stressed out when I go to visit Foundation because I know Brody's going to be standing there watching me. And I'm going to throw a New London, and I push really hard, and I'm going to shank it into the right, and it's going to be bad. Yeah, and you know what's going to happen? Thousands of people are going to watch this, and there's going to be 25 comments that say, well, that Robbie C guy sucks. But you know what? You got to be doing it. And why? Because why did I start making content in the first place? For me, I started making content because I wanted to help beginners improve one stroke at a time. And while Chris is going to comment on my video and he's going to tell me that I need to play women's MA4 and I need to play FA4 and that's the division I belong in, that voice is so loud when there are so many other voices that are the why that are like, hey man, thank you for helping my game. So it's keeping that why of the post and why you're doing it on the weekend. Because I didn't want to be away from my wife. I didn't want to be away from everyone to go film a video. But I knew that there's a chance this could add some form of joy to someone's life. And that's worth it. On the hard, the rainy day, it's trying to get your why on the other side.
That's exactly right. I mean, I think having some kind of a schedule that you want to do, for us, it's 4 reels a day for 4 years or something. So just an insane volume of content. For you, it might just be 2 reels a week or something like that. Go play 1 round, film every shot. You might have 2 or 3 that are cool or worth it, or funny moments or something, use those, don't put any other expectations on it. And what he said is absolutely true. You have to not look at comments essentially, because you're gonna have 3 people on every post like, you're an idiot, you fat moron, why are you playing all, that kind of stuff. And then there's gonna be a whole host of other people that like, this dad came up today when we were selling distant sign and stuff. He was like, me and my 4 sons, we watch every one of your videos every day. And like, he's probably never commented anything, but some moron who's fired up and is projecting something onto you gets your attention because you're reading comments and you're too tied to it. You just have to actually enjoy doing it and it be fun to you, and then that is kind of a contagious thing that'll catch on, I think.
Simon doesn't read his comment sections.
Yeah.
When Simon said that he doesn't read his comment sections, I was like,
Simon says, don't read your comments. Sorry.
And Simon throws 500 feet. And
He's pretty
makes
good.
his butts, and
He's
does all
pretty
that.
good.
And the internet still hates him too. So like,
Yeah, show me.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. But like,
So I don't necessarily agree with the not reading comments, because I like reading the troll comments. We had a reputation for a little bit where we were the clapback team, where if you came in and got smart with us, we made a point to really hammer it back at you, and that's something that brings me a lot of joy. It's kind of like I'm doing this work so that all of you can enjoy it too, right? So like. But I think to go to the point of like, how to keep yourself motivated, I think it really boils down to like the passion you have about what you're creating, right? Because that passion in most cases is going to be your driving force. Like filmmaking has been a passion of mine since I was 15 years old. So more than half of my life has been dedicated to making video content. And something that I always come back to is it takes one thing that somebody says in an interview that I say, I got gold with this. I'm really excited to show people this. And that is what keeps me coming back every single time, right? But in the same respect, I also know that I'm not the type of person that is going to just hammer out content to make the content. So I'm being very specific about how I'm scheduling that stuff. And I'm explicitly scheduling things to where I'm not going to film something that day, right? I'm going to go to the course and have fun with my friends because it's bringing the passion back into my life about what that content is. So then that one round that I took off on purpose, that round after that makes it so that, hey, I'm ready to film this stuff today.
Cap off one last part. I think it's funny, we're all talking about the comments.
I love the mean ones.
Yeah, you have to be thick-skinned in the media industry of disc golf because everyone's a keyboard warrior. Whether you post the best content in the world or not, like filming the holy shot, there's probably hundreds of comments that say how horrible that was that shot went in, and trash the people who filmed it or anything like that. You have to have thick skin in order to do this. And you kind of can pick and choose when to read a comment. Like when I've done videos with Paul, I'll read the comments here and there, but it's also, I'm the random friend that somehow met Paul, and that's the only reason why I've made a name for myself in disc golf. And those are the things where it's like, you just gotta let it slide. And I had the fortunate opportunity of making a lead card at DGPT event.
yeah.
I shot a 1075 rated first round, followed it up with a 970 rated second round, and I remember after I missed like a 25-footer, I was like, man, there's a dude on live coverage who just said, how the hell is he on here? Like my parents are watching, reading the chat, and I'm just like, so like it got to me. That round, it was definitely one of the things where I'm like, man, people are commenting and saying how I don't deserve to be here, but it's also one of those things where it's like, you know what, I'm out here doing this. If you want to get into media, just go out and do it. That's the biggest thing. You're doing something that 99% of the disc golf community won't do, and they just don't have the power to do it. But if you really want to get into it, be consistent and learn to love the trolls.
I think it's impressive you made a lead card. So.
I agree. All the jokers that are tied in that couldn't shoot a 1070 rated round if they had 4 shots. Yeah.
It might be the best show best player profile out there, but once you finish the player profile,
Then shut off the video.
you'll need a round 10.
You threw some highlights in that round.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe. Yeah, like you talk about Team Clapback. I'm associated with a guy who is, if you follow him on X, he's definitely Team Clapback. And so Brody Smith, who has found some form of success on YouTube for sure.
He's all right.
Yeah, no matter how you feel about him as a person, personality, whatever, he's good at what he does on YouTube for sure. And so Brody still reads the comments because he is Team Clapback, but also I remember when he told me, like, you have to read the comments because if you ignore them for the bad ones, you won't know if a comment's good or bad until you read it. And you'll never meet the good ones if you just leave the section alone. So I thought that was profound.
Okay, I know there's some other questions. I saw some hands, but I know I have a comment here too.
Oh no, I just, from the bottom of my heart, my wife Minnie and I are just so thankful for you people that have come into Ben's life. He makes us so proud, but he's such a good, like, having raised him, what you guys see, that's him. He's such a good kid.
I'm just grateful that Matt invited him to you
Matt,
many years ago.
Matt, thank you.
Let's give a round of applause for intern Ben.
You guys content creators have it so easy because back in my day, I was doing fishing shows, I was on TV, I traveled the country, I did trade shows, and the camera guys had 80-pound cameras. For people to be negative, they actually had to come to the show and talk to you face to face. So now, you just, it's a keyboard warrior.
Yeah, who wants to be negative?
Well, it was that back in the day where you had to film in the snow, 20 miles uphill both ways.
No, but it was on tape. You have no idea. I'm not kidding you. Big cameras, like this big, on tape. Yeah,
for sure.
So don't look up the shows.
All right, hey, listen, this is gonna be a time check. You have a comment, we have a few questions, and we'll try to be fluid through these last few so we can squeeze them in.
I think just like with the motivation, it's just, you just have to, like they said, you have to love what you do so much that it can't waver no matter what anybody else says. Like when I did Eagles vlogs for a year in 2021 to help pay for touring expenses, and every video there was a comment of like, is the camera guy taking helium before he records this? And, oh, it was great. I laugh at them. I'm like you. I mean, I don't have the energy to respond, but like, you have to be so passionate about what you're doing that none of that stuff matters. And I have a lot of respect for the people who don't read the comments, and like being genuine, being you, and like being okay with like showing the mistakes that you make too. Like, that's, people respect like that self-awareness. Like, social media has taken this world of completely like unsymmetrical things. I mean, nature is like not organized in any fashion, and somehow now with social media we're all expected to be like these perfect model human beings. Like, that's just not how we're designed, right? And so attempting to like eliminate all your flaws for a bunch of people who you've never met to see, like, that's horrible. Just be you, and if you suck or if you say something stupid, leave it in. Like, people respect the self-awareness and the comfort to be able to like put all of you out there. And if somebody says a negative comment, like, that's part of it too. And I just think like, if you're passionate about what you're making and you stay genuine, like, that's where Simon, I feel like he gets so little hate, in my opinion, because he's so genuine. Like, he honestly could care less what you think. He makes the content because he likes it. And until he stops liking it, he's not gonna stop making it. And he doesn't, like, he's not making, that's the thing you have to remember, you're not making that content for the fans. Like, you have to just remove them from your mind when you're making the content. It is not for them. It's because you are passionate about that job and you want to do it. You don't go to a construction site because you're making an apartment for the people who are gonna live in it. You don't give a crap what they think about your drywall. Like, you don't make videos for the fans. Just make it for yourself and the people will come. And if you're genuine, that's what matters.
So it's all in here, and again, I am gonna move us along for time, so we probably have 4 more questions, and we got like
12 minutes.
at the most, because then Simon's on it, everybody's gonna be piling it.
I had a question about consolidation in disc golf. I know Robbie talked about Youth Foundation, a lot of bigger players, more money coming into the space. What do you guys think the future looks like for a lot of content creators that are maybe smaller, getting kind of swept up under a larger brand and pushing content out that way?
It's one of the things that we're doing this year. One of my goals is to not be the circus clown frisbee guy every day on Instagram, and with some of our like sponsored players, but also we're sponsoring content creators to try to, not because we're trying to gobble people up, but because we're trying to like get different faces kind of be associated with the brand. But yeah, I think it's going to happen a lot more and more because, you know, you mentioned Bonanza, who talk about burnout. I don't know how the guy is, I mean, literally an amount of content that's like not possible to put out, and he just continues to do it. Somebody like him's a perfect example. His content niche is, I'm going to try to make it on the pro tour. So he is kind of a pro, but he got sponsored by Infinite because he's a fantastic content creator. And so I think more and more, and I have a lot of conversations with, you know, the highest level people in the industry that are with manufacturers. There's a whole thing that's happening right now for people like Robbie C and people like Anthony and that are going to become just as popular and just as supported by manufacturers as pros are, because somebody asked at the very beginning the importance of media. It's the whole thing, you know, it's where all of this stuff is happening. So I think it's going to keep happening more and more.
My only little thing is that one of the beautiful parts about being a solo show is that you have a lot of control, but there are things that you hate about your job, right? Like we talked about the things that are bad. And so cool part about the like people being swept under umbrellas and all that is that like that allows things that you dislike. There's someone who's passionate about things you don't like. I am not a good editor. I hate it. I never want to be a good editor. But Silas, Sci Guy, is an amazing editor, and he's super passionate about it. And so I'll give him an idea of like, I want this little intro thing to happen. It would take me 3 days to figure out how to do that. And Silas is stoked about it. So like, I hate fulfillment. Anthony hated fulfillment, but Infinite does fulfillment for him. And so it's like, there's pros and cons to it. But I think that's the really cool thing about that. And manufacturers have the teams to support the creators to do that.
I think that it is kind of a double-edged sword, because I think that, you know, as things are you know, being absorbed in things, it's making the ability to make that content larger because of the support system that they have and things like that. However, I'm also a big advocate that competition drives innovation. So I think, you know, by diluting the market and having them be less, like, not as many different entities, could potentially steer things in a way to make things stagnant. So us as viewers, like myself included, like I want to watch content that doesn't suck. So we all have to be and do our due diligence to keep these creators, keep us honest, right? Make sure that you're keeping us honest.
Yeah.
Because like, again, like the competition between all of us, whether or not it is true competition or not, but it's what's driving the next person's next idea. Or it sparks the creativity and things like that. And I think that that's super important.
Yeah, spoiler alert, Anthony's gonna really love Infinite Bolts. Like, you know, like what? Crazy, right? The guy that's paying him $100,000, whatever.
Yeah.
But so yeah, to your point, we do as both as like this side of it and as viewers have to monitor that in some way for sure.
I think kind of talking about the saturation and the consolidation of the sport right now is you see a lot of people getting to the YouTube side of things right now with disc golf, just content, but we're also in a platform where podcasts are also, you can, you know, 4 years ago, how many disc golf podcasts were there? And now you look it up and there's hundreds, you know, there's tons of them at this point. And so, like he was saying, it is a competitive field of how do we kind of become better than the next one, and it's not that we're trying necessarily to become better, but we do want to better ourselves, so we give the best content out there. So we're trying to better ourselves, and at the same time, it is trying to be better than other podcasts. So we were with the Foundation podcast channel, who does have a monopoly because they have so many different podcasts. We rolled with them for a year, and we did see exponential growth with it. But Matt and I wanted to say, you know what, we want to create our own brand and don't want to be limited to pretty much anything at that point. We can kind of say what we want to do. And so that's why we started back up on our own.
That goes back to the question of how do you stay motivated, how do you not burn out, all these things. You just do what you're happy with, and if it means less views or whatever, then it does. But yeah.
Okay, do you have a question?
So I guess real quick, it's a two-part question. I know everybody here who creates always wants their next thing to be better than what they just did. It's continuous growth is what everybody wants to do. I guess, do you ever knowingly put out something that you feel like wasn't up to the standard of what you previously put out? And if not, how often do you throw away content?
I'll
Yeah, real quick. Ours is very dependent on who wins the Pro Tour tournament. So whether the show's going to be, yeah, exactly. We're like Paul, Simon, Eagle, players like that who everyone loves to listen to talk about disc golf. I mean, obviously Paul's my best friend. Simon's a great close friend of mine, but there are players like that who we want to win the tournament because we know that is going to be a better video for us. But if you have, like Sai Nanda played incredible last year, won a tournament. Her interview was incredible. It was awesome. She's such a fun person to talk to. But we know it's not going to be as much of a hit, which is fine because in our world, we just want to, expose everyone else to these great players.
And to be clear, we've never thrown away an episode, and we're live recording it, so it's too late anyways. If it's no good, it's out there.
Yeah, there's plenty of times that we put out stuff that we know didn't hit the mark because of like time constraints. So like next day coverage obviously is a really intense process. You go through and you go halfway through the export, something gets corrupted and you have to do it again. You do it again, it's finished, and you say, oh wow, that graphic is wrong. Oh, we have to film in an hour. Well, I guess I can't fix it. Right, and so you really have to accept that the mistakes are like that, and sometimes we've gone as far as pinning a comment on the video saying, hey, we realized that we messed up, here's an explanation, sorry, we're gonna, please bear with us, and so it's just being honest with the audience is really important in that regard, but yeah, I mean, it happens just out of necessity sometimes. Is that something that we want? No, not at all, but it's the nature of the beast.
All right, I'm going to say about 2 more minutes, and we have 1 more question, so.
So this one's for the full-timers. When you guys transition to full-time disc golf content, disc golf media stuff, what was that kind of linchpin moment for you where you said, yeah, I am going to put aside what I was doing and just start doing this?
I got called in January 15, 2021 to my boss's office, and for the whole 3 months leading up to that, he had told me, we will fire literally everyone who's not in leadership before we fire you. Don't worry, you're the most secure person in this company. And I was like, heck yeah, job security, baby. January 15, 2021 was a Friday. He called me in and said, hey, dude, we can't pay you anymore. I know it's 8 o'clock in the morning, need you out by lunch. And I said, ooh, tough book. So yeah, at that point I had a little over 1,000 subscribers, and I used unemployment to say, what would it be like to be a full-time content creator if I woke up Monday and I did that? So I went, like I said, in January 2021, I also had just laughed at Jesse and said, I'll never do this full-time. And so I got kicked out the door, and it pushed me there, and by the end of unemployment, when that time ran up in 2 months, I had 5,000 subscribers or something like that. So for me, it was necessity.
I would say that honestly the turning point for me was the support of my wife. She was really an advocate for me pursuing something that she knew that I had been so passionate about for a long time, and I finally found a way to be able to kind of navigate through to that. I left a job with Apple, who awarded me stock options and health insurance and things like that, and I took the leap. But another fortunate thing was that I started the company with my best friend from college, and so him and I were both working for Apple at the same time. I went full-time first, he continued part-time with the company, and then we spent that next year where, because I was full-time, I hit the ground running and made the deals happen so that we could bring him on full-time then as well. And then now that we had 2 people working full-time, it started to really generate things, right? So it's really just like, the biggest thing is like the support of your family and friends is something that you really have to lean on. And if they're the ones telling you that you should think about it and do it, like they know you from an outsider perspective, you know, maybe take some seriousness to what they're saying and give it, you know, that extra little bit of thought if you're on that teetering moment.
Great. Well, yeah, add something, 30 seconds or less.
I've been in a pretty cool spot the last 4 years. I've really been pursuing disc golf full time in some sort of career, whether I was trying to be a touring professional disc golfer to now having the opportunity to actually work on a disc golf course. But I would say the main thing that really caused a leap of faith was this is my dream, to somehow be involved in disc golf. Fortunately, I've been able to somewhat make that happen so far, and I want to keep doing it. But you also got to realize that disc golf's not a get-rich-quick scheme. And I'll say this, when I moved home from Virginia back to Massachusetts to go work for a little bit before Florida, I had to ask my mom for $200 for gas money. And I pursued a dream of being a professional disc golfer, and there were plenty of highs with it, but there's also a lot of lows. And so you really just need to take, it's a huge, huge leap of faith in life, whether you're doing it as a player or a content creator. Now I get to be a glorified greenskeeper, and I'm stoked. It's like the happiest I've been. Of course, bro. Yeah, it's the happiest I've been in months. So
awesome. So before you all leave, we're gonna get someone will take a picture of you together. If you hear a buzz out here, it's because this room is probably packed to the brim because Simon is up and there's literally a line outside the door. But if you can give them a round of applause for spending time.
also shout out Gatekeeper. They filmed my first A-tier win, so go check it out on their channel.
All right.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.